Alexander Train, and welcome to Scary Stories, Episode 1. Today we have 3 scary stories. And, well, let's just say, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because it's about to get really spooky. Our first story today is Ghost Bro. Let's begin, shall we? My house was built in 1904. It is a single-family home, wooden frame setting on a concrete block foundation. I have been living here for about 12 years. All of the weird things that my siblings and me have seen or heard in this house, this one is my favorite. This happened to my brother. About 10 years ago, my brother and his best friend started a garage band playing mostly Spanish rock. Alternative music, but in Spanish. His friends could only get together on Sunday afternoons. They would practice into the early evening, and they would usually call it quits about 8 p.m. This was usually the time I showed up and went to bed, because I worked the graveyard shift. This happened in late fall, so the days were getting shorter. They had just finished a long session when the decision to head to someone else's house came about. My brother handed his car keys to his buddy so they could load up the equipment. Everyone had filed out of the basement, but the tricky part was that they needed to walk all the way back to the back of the basement. Up the back stairs, through the kitchen doorway, down the hall, into the living room, and out into the front porch. Everyone was outside, sitting in my brother's truck, waiting for him. My brother was walking up the back stairs when he remembered that he left his pancakes in a to-go container sitting on a speaker in the basement. He made the decision to go back. Now the basement is not clean, with full sight lines. There had been partitions made, and the boiler room and main heating unit are right smack in the middle. So after my brother walks back, he's about to retrieve his food container when out of the corner of his eye, he sees it. It is a shadowy figure right at his peripheral vision. This feeling of dread and uneasiness washed over my brother. We had been taught that if you are in the presence of a spirit or a ghost, and you felt a bad vibe, to say a quick prayer or to cuss at it. My brother chose the latter. He basically just told it, "Hey, frick you, I don't have time for this crap." My brother started to walk to the back of the basement and briskly up the stairs, closing doors and turning off lights as he was walking out. The last light switch is on the opposite side of the front door. Luckily, the door was open and the light from the street lamp was flooding the living room with its amber light. My brother said he felt something at his back, but he had no point. He didn't turn around. As he flicked the last switch, the living room went dark, as did the rest of the house. As he stepped out, he pulled on the door, closing it behind him, still holding his food container in one hand. He jogged down the few porch steps. He walked toward the front gate. Our house resides far from the main street, essentially having a large front yard but no rear garage. As he closed the gap between himself and his friend laden truck, he kind of smiled and thought things over in his head, mad at himself for spooking out when there was no reason. He climbed into the driver's side of the truck, putting on his seatbelt and getting ready to pull out of the parking spot directly in front of the house. When one of his friends asked, "Hey, wait, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" My brother answered, "What do you mean? He went to work early tonight and he's already gone." Do you see his car anywhere? The next question they asked was, so then, who was walking behind you when you were leaving the house? The end. Spooky. On we go then. Our second story is called The Whispers. This should be an interesting one. This is a story I do not tell often. I promise, sincerely, that this has scared me for my life. And although I have looked into the psychological explanations for what I heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother that I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear whispers, as I would call them. When asking my mom, she figured they were just bumps in the night, and typical kids' nightmare material. I tried to often explain to her that it was more than that they sounded different from one another, the way people's voices do. On some nights, I would get so scared from these whispers that I would sleep in my mom's bed with her. It was an added bonus that the bathroom was directly outside of her bedroom door for my late night tinkles. I should add at this point that when walking out into the hall to go to the bathroom, you look directly down the stairs that would lead you into my living room on the first floor, as my mom's bedroom was on the second floor. On one such night, around Christmas, I awoke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look!" And to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the very bottom of the stairs. The light had no other source. It was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and it only being a few days from Christmas, I knew what the light was. It was Santa! How else could he get into my house to know I was being a good boy? I was so excited. I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after the second step as it began to creep off the walls and fade into the darkness in my living room. That's when I heard him. A very strong, masculine voice. Different from the first. Not at all like my father's. It said, "Stop right now. Go back up those stairs." I listened, turned around, and what happened next, I'm not sure. I would have believed if someone had told me the same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very loud crash that sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the poinsettia lights, little Christmas flower lights that glowed red, my mother had put on the railing down the stairs, were pulled straight to the bottom of the stairs, some broken from what seemed like a forceful tear, laying in a single pile. The dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried we had victims of a home invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason this had happened. And then I saw it. And I kept quiet about it because I was so afraid that I could not force words out of my mouth. There, on the edge of the wooden dry sink which had been facing up, were 3 indications where the finish on the wood had been worn. Almost as if a forceful grip, something down there had grabbed it and threw it down. That was what the bang was. I was mortified. After that day, I never heard a single voice again. I do not like to imagine what was waiting downstairs for me that night, if it was anything at all. But I can tell you that the reality was that something had physically acted upon the 2 things in my house near the bottom of that stairwell. After this, I had never heard another whisper again, which is sad because in some ways I would have liked to thank the man that stopped me from going down those stairs. This happened when I was 7. I am 20 years old now, and because of this incident, I am still afraid of the dark, especially shadowy stairwells. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but through that entire story, I was getting chills the entire time. Not kidding. I'm in a room alone in my house. My house is empty, and I just got chills that entire time. Now, I don't know why, because, there's a bunch of light in my room, and I have no idea what was going on. I think that story just gave me the chills. It was kind of spooky, though. So, maybe there's something there. So, let's get on with the next story. Our third and final story is called The Cell Phone. A couple months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with text messages, and he agreed. At around 11:20, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son in and go to bed, but she walked to his room and saw he wasn't there. She ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as a new background, banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one new picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face. I'm not sure if my mic picked that up or anything, but this whole room just creaked, and it's because of the wind and all that, but it was a loud settling noise, so it was just really creepy and all that. So I don't know if the mic picked that up or anything, but that was really spooky. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Scary Stories. It was an interesting one, I will say the least. And I hope to do more of these. I thought they were kind of cool. So, if you like these 3 scary stories that you heard today, go in the comments and say you want more of this. And like the video. It'll let me know that you guys enjoy these scary stories, and I will keep doing them for you. Well, I will see you all next time. This has been 3 Scary Stories. Bye!